Thank you for the opportunity to join you tonight. I have just a couple of slides to give you an overview of the materials that were submitted with our response to the RFI. Our company, All Points Broadband, the Rappahannock Electric Cooperative, and other electric utilities are partnering to bring fiber-to-the-home broadband to unserved areas in Virginia. As of today, All Points, REC, and other partner utilities in those projects have announced projects in Culpeper County, in Fauquier County, in Loudoun, and a number of others. If we are selected as your partner for the bidding process this year, All Points and REC would include our project and our work in Rappahannock as part of our broader regional partnership. One of the commitments that All Points and REC have made together is that we are always going to pursue what we call whole of jurisdiction projects. So these are projects that are designed to provide broadband access to 100% of the remaining unserved locations in the counties that we partner with. We have tailored our approach here to meet the requirements of the American Rescue Plan Act, and our projects are designed to be as competitive as possible for the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative. All Points received in the last baby cycle the single highest state support per passing of, we believe, any other project in the history of the program. A little about our company. So we're a Virginia-based company focused on rural markets, and we operate in 4 states, but primarily in Virginia and Kentucky. We also have some market coverage in Virginia and Maryland. We're the largest rural-facing ISP of our kind in the Mid-Atlantic. For each of the past 3 years, we were named to Inc. magazine's list of America's fastest-growing privately held companies. In the past 6 months alone, All Points has received more than $51 million in state and federal grants and electric utility co-investment projects in our partner jurisdictions. And we announced a couple of weeks ago in early July that our lead equity sponsor is now Searchlight Capital Partners. This is a major global investment firm, and they are the most active investor in fiber to the home in the US, and through their portfolio companies are the number 4 builder of fiber to the home broadband passings in the United States today. We have performed a preliminary analysis of the conditions on the ground in Rappahannock County. So we had our field survey teams have identified approximately 2,356 locations that lack wired broadband access today. Of those, about 895, those are the dots shown in red there at the bottom. Those are areas where Shentel has, as was mentioned before, accepted federal funding in exchange for agreeing to deploy a fixed wireless last mile network within 6 years of final approval. Our company is also participating in that RDOF program in other jurisdictions and shares the view of Shentel that hopefully final approvals will come in the 4th quarter of this year or maybe the 1st quarter of next year. The remaining 1,470 locations that are not within RDOF, Shentel's RDOF area are both eligible for the BADI and for use of ARPA funds. You have the proposal that we provided along with our RFI response, but at a high level, we have a comprehensive approach for the county that leverages our broader regional partnership. If the county elects to participate, we will finalize a network design and BADI application in time to submit an application before the September 14 deadline. We have a proven path for achieving universal fiber to the home for all remaining unserved locations in the counties we partner with. And as was mentioned by several of the authority members earlier in the meeting, this is a really unique time in broadband. There is significant one-time federal and state funding available to support broadband deployment. The state and other policymakers, grant writers are encouraging jurisdictions like Rappahannock to think big. So we believe that there will never be a better opportunity to finally close the digital divide in Rappahannock than the one you have today. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions about our proposal.
Sure. Mr. Carter, thank you very much. This is Keir Winston. We met, I think, more than a while ago at one of the county broadband committee meetings. I apologize if some of these questions are poorly informed, but I'll be quick, and I'm sure your answers will be easy to provide. I understand that you are involved in a relatively significant project in the Northern Neck, and it seems as if All Points right now is taking on a lot of work in the Commonwealth. And question I've asked one other provider, I just want to confirm that with all you're taking on, can you just reassure all of us you are able to do it all, and that you have the people and equipment and general resources to get it all done? That's question one. Question two, we understand that Acre Capital Management had a shareholding interest in your company, and I just would like to know if you could just confirm for all of us right now today if Acre Capital Management has any shareholding interest in All Points. My third question, if you could just summarize for us briefly, and you touched on it, but it would be helpful just to hear it as a standalone response. Why is this somewhat new regional approach one that you believe we should follow? Number four, would our entering the vetting process with you on a regional basis preclude any local providers such as Piedmont Broadband from staying in our market to serve their customers where they are able to do so? Number five, I'm just curious about the Kentucky hook. I'd like to know the background on that, because it doesn't seem to fit with your primary focus area. And then number six, if you could just explain to me briefly, and I should know the answer, but I don't. The Shentel RDOF area, does that mean then that you immediately, in your proposed infrastructure project for our county, would just skip over that area? And is there any path for, if you were to take on our county as a whole through this regional partnership, would there be any path for you providing service in that RDOF area that Shentel, I guess, has claimed, for lack of a better term? So those are my 6 questions, and I appreciate your responses.
Sure. So the first 2 questions about resources and Acre Capital Management are related, so I'll take them together. So we do have a lot going on as a company. We're growing rapidly. We have a lot of large projects underway. Recognizing that fact, we began earlier this year, we entered into a process to bring on a new equity partner. And so that was the announcement that I referenced earlier in my presentation. So we announced in July that Searchlight Capital Partners is becoming our lead equity sponsor. As part of that process, Acre Capital Management will no longer have any interest, direct or indirect, in All Points Broadband. That transaction, because we are in a regulated industry, and that transaction requires approval from various state and federal regulators, so we cannot close that transaction until the regulatory approvals are all obtained. So we have entered into a definitive arrangement pursuant to which, number one, we will, pursuant to which our current shareholders, including Acre Capital Management, will be divesting of 100% of their interest in the company. On the third question, the importance of the regional model. So one of the things that if you look through the VADI application and the scoring criteria, the state, we think very smartly, is prioritizing, number one, whole of jurisdiction solutions, and number two, they call it, I think the point category is Commonwealth priorities, but the DHCD has been encouraging jurisdictions to come together in regional groups with what they call think big projects because of the significant amount of funding that's available right now in this relatively brief window. And so in the past, there has actually been an affirmative point increase for regional projects currently that is part of the Commonwealth priorities category. At DHCD, the grant making authority that is going to make the most sense for a project in Rappahannock County, has been actively encouraging in every public meeting that I've been to jurisdictions to be part of larger regional efforts. Because we have so many other projects underway with Rappahannock Electric in particular in your neighborhood, we can realize economies of scale and make a project in Rappahannock part of something larger that will also benefit it when it comes time for the paving scoring process. Let's see, why are we in Kentucky? We grew this company through acquisition, and there was an opportunity to expand into Kentucky a few years ago, so we took advantage of that. And then in terms of the areas where there's already an RDOF awardee, if we were selected as your partner, one of the things that we would do is work with the county to determine the best approach for all of the county. That could be a fixed wireless approach with Shentel through RDOF in that area, or the county can come up with, another approach, but we would, our role is to partner with the county and come up with the best solution that's, consistent with the resources you have and the availability of other public support mechanisms such as the value program to achieve that. So we would enter any engagement with an open mind and a willingness to find the best solution for Rappahannock County.
Okay, and then you just skipped over one, and I did give you a long list, and that was, does entering this process with you for a regional approach preclude local providers from staying in our market to serve their customers where they're able to do so?
Oh, sorry, I missed that one. No, look, we're not going, there's a free and vibrant marketplace in America, and so any incumbent provider serving an area where they're serving, there's nothing that we would do or require the county to do, specifically stop someone's ongoing business.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Anyone else?
I guess I could, Madam Chair. This is Ron Frazier from Amosville, Virginia. And I really don't really know why we're this far along into this. It looks like we're in a negotiation process where we should probably be in a closed session environment. No, we're not. So it makes it very difficult to, probably for both sides of this tonight. So, and we don't have counsel
That's
tonight.
correct.
It's very, very difficult. We don't have counsel. And I have, on the heels of the question that Mr. Whitson asked about other service providers, I have a question. I find it both in the memorandum of understanding in the Valley, the regional approach, and then in your responsible RFI that we have in the package, where the good faith commitment to the partnership, for as long as it is a party to this MOU, the county agrees that it will not participate in any activity or course of conduct that is inconsistent with or competitive to the initiative, and it will devote its broadband-related attention and resources to the initiative. And I just wonder why in the world would somebody like a county or this broadband authority agree to something like that when we don't even know what the initiative is? It's like we're basically signing a check and give it to someone. We would do that with our own money and let them walk away.
I'm happy to respond to that. So I think that if we proceed with a project in Rappahannock County, both All Points and REC are going to devote substantial resources and incur substantial expenses to prepare a successful VADI application. And so we ask if we're selected as your partner for a bidding process, we wanna be the partner, and we wanna know that you're committed to that partnership. Because we are going to, incur expenses and there's opportunity costs for anyone, including the county, to select a partner and move forward. And so under our approach, the county is not actually obligated to make any financial commitment until we have a completed design and a proposed application, at which point the authority or the county board, I guess it would be the authority in this case, would have the opportunity to review that proposal and determine whether or not they were interested in moving forward.
No, sir, I believe according to this proposal that was part of the package delivered on July 11th, you want $170-some thousand with $50,000 pretty quickly. Did I misread that?
No, I don't think that, that was I think that was an example of a previous agreement.
This is Rappahannock County.
What page are you
Let's go back through it, sorry. Maybe I read too far in it, of the previous agreement. Let's see. Well, definitely
Now that number, I believe, is, you asked when our response for examples of other prior agreements we've entered into, I believe that was from another county.
all right, I'm mistaken then, but it's, you've got the same language though with the commitment in the regional one, and again, there seems to be quite a bit of protection in there for you, but very little for Rappahannock County. And we don't have legal counsel here at the table with us tonight.
But you're not making a
And
decision.
I'm wondering, along the same question that Mr. Whitson had, you have promised a 24 to 36 month projection in Culpeper, Fauquier County, and over in the valley, and I'm just wondering, where would we be in those projections in Rappahannock County? And, I understand a little bit about construction material difficulties right now, and have you been putting aside this much fiber to build out systems like that you have committed to do in 24 and 36 months?
Yes, we have relationships with distributors to secure materials and allocations of future materials. You're correct that there's a significant pressure in supply chains these days.
You believe you have that ability to perform on all those commitments?
Yes, I did.
And one thing that I didn't really see was a price, similar to what, another provider, or both the other providers, responded. I noticed, I watched the meeting, from Warren County, and I noticed that Rappahannock County geographically is larger, and we have, 1/6 of the population, so that would make Rappahannock County, I believe, more expensive to string fiber, and we would have 1/6 of the ability to give, Allpoints and Rappahannock Electric a return on investment. So I'm just wondering exactly, at least pretty close estimate of what those numbers are. Do you have that?
No, if the county wants to participate in our initiative, then we will commit the resources to coming up with our high-level design and prepare that price information and bring it back to the county for approval, before the county would be required to make any financial commitment.
But we would have to sign this agreement with you before you would work on that.
Correct, we would need to be engaged by Rappahannock County in order to proceed with a project in time to be submitted for this year's baby cycle.
But while we're a party to that agreement, we wouldn't know what the agreement is with you, and we would also not be able to work with any other providers. Am I correct in that?
If you want us to perform all of that work on a substantially speculative basis, we would ask in exchange that you be committed to working with us in good faith.
But we don't exactly know what the definition of, let me see if I can bring that language up. Your language states that it's inconsistent with or competitive with the initiative. And again, we don't know what your initiative is, and we don't know what the definition of what that, I mean, would we, for Rappahannock
That
County?
means, if you engage us as your partner for a whole of jurisdiction solution in Rappahannock County, we have to be your partner for a whole jurisdiction solution in the county. You cannot also have another partner working on a competitive project.
All right, I can understand that, but with the Rappahannock County Board of Supervisors, as part of, you know, they're actually the county, would they be precluded from even approving a tower system for our local provider or?
No.
So see, we don't have a definition of that. We need a definition of what this language means that you have before us. We don't have it, and again, we don't have legal text, so I don't really see how we can sign anything tonight.
Mr. Carr, this is Kier Whitson, just to flesh this out a little bit. Am I correct in understanding that this language that calls for a commitment to you as a partner is solely in the context of the VATI application and a plan thereof for Rappahannock County? In other words, you're drawing a circle around this VATI process, and then another provider outside of that process, for example, Piedmont Broadband, might come to us and say, hey, we want to get permits for some 80-foot towers for these hollows, and that would still be permissible. Am I characterizing that correctly?
Yes, I mean, we're not interfering in your ordinary course land use decisions. I mean,
Well, that's helpful, but again, it's not, we don't have that in writing, so we really need a better definition of that. But secondly, that would preclude the Rappahannock County Board of Supervisors or the Broadband Authority from doing anything with any other provider at all until we see what your initiative is.
And that, my understanding on that point, Mr. Fragrance, a good question, is that Mr. Carr's committed, I think I heard you correctly, you come back with your plan in September of this year, is that right?
yes, correct. If
And
Rappahannock wants to participate with us, then we would begin the detailed work. We'll come back with the final plan for the county's approval.
right, and so if we got that final plan and it scared everyone away, then we would be back to square one and we could talk to anyone with whom we wanted to speak, correct?
Sure, it's like Mr. Meehan said, I think very, very astutely, earlier when he was asked a similar question, you know, we got a lot of unserved people in America, and it doesn't make sense to be working on projects to get two providers to some people before we get one provider to everyone.
I think I can close up here pretty quickly, but we need a definition of what the county is too, because we have three entities that may be trying to work with different types of money for broadband for the citizens. We have the Rappahannock County Board of Supervisors, Rappahannock County Broadband Authority, and Rappahannock County Public School System. So would it preclude any one of them, or just a signatory to this?
Mr. Fragrant did mention that and I think we've authorized to put an attorney on retainer, and that we could begin our representation arrangement with our attorney outside the council as early as tomorrow morning. I think this is precisely within the scope of what that attorney would advise us on.
Well, I mean, I've got a question right now, so I might as well ask it. I'm just wondering, what is the definition of county? We've got three different entities.
Right, and I think that Ms. Pandek is well versed in all of these different bodies and the terminology and what is appropriate to put in any kind of agreement. And I think I will add that to my list if that's okay with you, and we can vote at the end of the meeting if we.
Well, I think it needs to be added to the
Okay.
list, but I just wonder if Mr. Clark can answer that question for me.
I think it's better for our attorney, in my opinion.
Well, I think to be protected, we need to discuss that with the committee, but again, Mr. Carr, is that a difficult question?
Well, I'm not gonna give you, legal advice, I don't
I
think.
don't want
the
legal
school is
advice, I
applying
want
for
your
rating
definition
money.
of what the county is. What is your definition of the county? We have three different entities that would be considered the county. We have Rappahannock County Board of Supervisors, we have Rappahannock County Broadband Authority, and the Rappahannock Public School System. All have the ability to spend from different pots of money.
I just wanna say, I can see where this conversation is going, and I understand it. I think it points to an issue that we do have sometimes, and that in making this body redundant to the board of supervisors, it sometimes makes things not very clear, and sometimes does present conflicts of interest. And I think it is good to have parties addressed very clearly whenever we're taking on documents. I don't think this document is clear. I think it does present a problem in that regard, because clearly, the cover letter's made to the Rappahannock County Broadband Authority, but the Rappahannock County Broadband Authority is not the county. The Rappahannock County Broadband Authority is only the Rappahannock County Broadband Authority. So I do think that there are some issues as to identity, I guess for lack of a better word, in the agreement. I'm not signing something today. I don't think any of us are. But I think I understand your concern, Mr. Fraser. I think it's totally valid. And there would need to be some explicating of who's who in terms of the language.
But that, I mean, in my view, that's really from our side, that's not for, someone like Mr. Carr to decide for us.
No, and I don't think, I think it's a conversation for down the road. I don't know that it's a conversation for today.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit, Mr. Carr, about your experience with Body, or Allpoint's experience with Body, and what your
So my
anticipation is?
question is, I'm sorry.
That's
Madam
okay.
Chair.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fraser.
So Mr. Carr doesn't want to answer my question?
I just don't think that that's a question for Mr. Carr, it's a question.
No, it's a question for Mr. Carr, because this is with his company. What does this contract constitute as the county? I mean, if you don't want to answer it, sir, that's fine.
I mean, I think this is the entity that signs a legal instrument is the entity that is bound by it.
I think that's for us.
I don't mean to be flip, but I don't.
Yeah, that's for us to decide and determine.
Yeah.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser. I'm sorry if I interrupted you. So, Mr. Carr, I was just asked, similar to a previous applicant that we talked to, if you could talk a little bit about your experience in value cycles and any installations, successes, concerns, issues, expectations you could share.
Sure. So I've been involved intimately with the VADI program since it was first started, 5 or 6 years ago. I was on the small industry committee that helped put together the initial program. In the last application cycle, our company received the highest VADI award for passing of any project in the program's history. That specific project, we had groundbreaking on earlier in July.
And that's
So-
the Northern Neck project?
That's correct.
All right, and how many homes were served in that project?
The combined regional project will end up serving more than 10,000 locations.
And what's the price tag on a project like that?
The monthly internet service bill?
Well, I guess there's two different ways to slice it. I mean, I guess I'm wondering what the cost was to the county, and the final breakout cost. What did the counties pay for the service? And then what's the cost to the consumers?
The counties on that project ended up paying 5% of total project cost. That was a very good outcome that I am not promising is repeatable. The service plans we have on that network begin at 100 down, 100 up. for $59.99 a month.
And how many localities did you have participating in that project?
There are 5 jurisdictions participating in that project.
What does the 5% of the project cost represent in absolute value?
I think together those 5 counties were on the order of $3.5, $4 million.
Thanks. Good questions, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. And then I guess my other question is one that we sort of wrestle with all the time as a small county that hopes to capitalize on opportunities with larger counties that surround us. If we take this regional approach, what is our assurance that we will be a priority and receive just as much attention as some of the larger counties that frankly are going to pay more likely for their installations?
I mean, I don't, look, we view a location as a location regardless of what county it's in. So, you know, our objective as a company is to get high quality broadband to people who don't have it today. And we do that in partnership with counties and electric companies.
And how do you prioritize your installation process?
We prioritize our projects on the front end by the order in which we put the partnerships in place. And in terms of construction sequencing, we build a project in a logical construction sequence without regard to which particular county we start in. Our objective is to light up homes as promptly as possible in any given project.
Ms. Donahue, did you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. I've got a few. With that conversation, as far as the order and how you do your projects, I think what I heard the other day at the Warren County presentation, you've got the backbone that the electric co-ops are providing. And so based on who joins the regional approach, I would think, and obviously you've got to tell us, that you start in one location and branch out. I would doubt that you would be skipping around from one region to another or one county to another. Is that correct? You basically start and branch out the fiber and then move to the next. And also, I believe if I read it correctly, the end date is like 2025 for this entire project if you did it.
Yeah, I think both of those comments are correct.
And I was talking to someone today in the Goochland area. This seems very similar to the Firefly process down in that area. Would you say that your approaches are very similar to the regional, just different regions?
Yeah, imitation is the best form of flattery, and the CVEC project is based on the regional project we put together on the Northern Neck. You know, the documentation it's all the same, and the CVEC projects are, from my understanding, I'm not intimately familiar with them, but from what I've seen, this is a very common structure that we use, and it's similar to what the approach that CVEC is taking.
If it works, why change it? Understood. With this type of an agreement, I think there is some concern that if there's a household that has consistent, or maybe inconsistent, I should say 25.3, in the area that you're basically pulling fiber, what happens to that house that technically kind of sort of has 25.3, but not reliably?
We're gonna identify through our process those locations that are served according to the state rules and those that are not. And we're gonna design a network to serve the ones that are not.
And your process has been proven through previous BADI grants submissions.
Yes, we've been challenged in 4 or 5 counties. We have no process is perfect, but we have a good process for determining served and unserved areas.
I do like, I think when Ms. Bond and I met you 2 years ago, the comment about physics and finance, obviously, both are an issue within Rappahannock County, and you have been very straight up with the county in multiple presentations that I've been in, and definitely appreciate that. Trying to make sure that especially our school children have good speeds to be able to do their schoolwork should anything come up like COVID did, as well as people that are working at home and that sort of thing. I would expect that the schools would be very interested in fiber to the home for their students. Is there, I'm wondering, additional funding that's out there, and you may not be able to answer this question, but when you talk large dollars for a small county, everybody gets a little concerned about how you make the difference up. So you've got BADI, and then you've got a percentage that the county's gonna have to find. Do you know, or would you recommend any areas that we go searching for additional grant dollars while this potential project is running?
Yeah, so if you want to move forward with All Points Broadband, we are engaged as your partner to achieve universal coverage in your jurisdiction. And one of the things we do is, in addition to BADI, we'll work with you on other funding sources to help make that happen. There are a lot of unknowns. There are no guarantees. I think if I were in the county's position, I would be looking to select a partner who understands these funding streams, who shares a common philosophy, and who can help guide you through the process. All Points Broadband can do that. I'll bet you Shintel can do it well too. There are lots of companies that can perform these services. Everybody's got a different approach and a different flavor, and I hear this board kind of struggling with a lot of the really minutia of how this works. And, to be successful, you need to think big. And, select a partner who can help you get there and just go for it, whether that's All Points or someone else. I think, we have a limited opportunity here to make meaningful progress on broadband. And, every single possible permutation about what might happen, or, could we go this route, or it's not the type of thing that we're gonna answer at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night in a Zoom meeting. So, there are a lot of unknowns. I think what the county should be looking for, whether that's All Points or someone else, is a partner who can help you navigate a lot of these more specific questions about how the program works, what other sources of funding are available, et cetera.
And the deadline to sign on with this regional approach MOU?
We are asking counties who are participating in our projects for this body cycle to join in that effort and to engage us by the end of the month.
Okay, because it sounds like we had some concern with the memorandum itself. I know other counties have signed it. If we need to edit it in some way, if our attorney needs to edit it in some way, is that something we do through you or the regional commission?
I mean, if you have questions or comments about our approach or agreements, that people can reach out to me.
Okay.
Ms. Donahue, this is Kier. I will add
Yes,
that,
sir.
I'll add that to near-term scope of work should we need it, and something we can vote on at the end. and authorizing our attorney to go to work would be to review the draft MOU from a Rappahannock County perspective, just so we've done our own due diligence as part of a larger group of localities.
Thank you. Mr. Carr, I appreciate your time. I know you are going from one county to another at the moment, trying to let people know about the opportunities, and I'm sure Chantel is doing the same thing, but I appreciate your time and your patience with our education on this process.
Sure.
Mr. Carr, can I ask one more question? I knew I had another one. This is Christine Smith. And I know in your presentation, you said that you weren't really interested in competing for those households already covered under the RDOF. But then later in the conversation, you've been talking about, you know, a countywide commitment. But indeed, you would not, we can still focus on those 895 homes in other ways, other solutions for those folks, correct?
Well, the way I look at it is you have another capable provider who has accepted a federal obligation to provide a broadband service to those locations.
Correct.
So if I were Rappahannock County, my priority would be a solution for the rest of the county.
Correct. They're interested though in fiber to the home through that area, and so that wouldn't preclude us from working with them in another way, would it?
Yeah, I mean, I just, look, we've got 6 or 7 weeks to get a whole lot of work done, to get these video applications together. You know, if you want us to be your partner, we'll be your partner, and we can work with you to determine what makes sense in what part of your county. And the fact that you've got a provider with a, you know, federally supported plan to get broadband to some folks is a good thing. So,
I don't think that's a really clear answer, but I appreciate your try.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
if I could just, I just wanted to say one more thing. You know, I've been trying to put this opportunity and this moment in time in a broader perspective, and this is what I've come up with for whatever it's worth, and I want to state it as one member of the Rappahannock County Broadband Authority. You know, we're all proud, I think, to hold up as a symbol of our progressive land use and no growth policies, the fact that we do not have a stoplight in Rappahannock County. In my view, we will have failed as elected officials if we walk away from this regional solution and leave our students, our families, our seniors, and businesses with an antiquated and cobbled together broadband system that will stand, frankly, as the wrong kind of symbol, and it could be a symbol of what could have been, and for that, I think we have to take seriously tonight, considering entering this regional agreement, which sounds like it comes with really no financial hook in the near term, which suggests to me it's a good way to go. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
I agree with you, Mr. Whitson. I would say one of the other things we always talk about is preserving our view sheds, and you know, we're challenged to work with cable, and here we have a solution that's possibly fiber to the home through a large portion of the county, which would completely eliminate that issue. And if working with one provider will preclude us from pursuing another area that they're not seeking to serve, I don't understand why we can't do both. We're supposed to try to figure out how to serve everyone. And I think I just heard that we can't do that.
That's what the language says.
So, in all honesty, I've always been pretty good at getting other people to do my work. And And, the proposal that I read, from, All Points was that they were gonna do a bunch of research and a bunch of work for phase one, at the end of which we could bow out with completely no cost to us. So I fail to see the downside on, letting them do all this research for us, and then we decide if we wanna be their partner or not. So I don't see where we have anything to lose by going ahead and signing with them and seeing what they come up with, and then decide if we want them for a partner or not. Because we have lost, I don't know how, in terms of time, I don't know, we'll have lost, but we will have lost no financial commitment, and we will have gained a lot of insight and knowledge of opportunity through their work, and, not our work. So that's how I look at it.
We won't know the price until after that work is done, and then
Then we go on somewhere else if we want to. We got no obligation, under what I read, and we got no obligation. We got the phase one, the phase two, and if we get into, third phase, yeah, we're obligated, but up until then, we're not. So I don't see where we got anything to lose to let them go ahead and do this research for us.
I agree.
This is the bad part about not having legal counsel.
And I think a lot of this we should be discussing in closed session. Honestly, I feel like, this should be points that we maybe have for future negotiations with all these providers, and we're having them here today in open session.
I don't know that
Which
it's,
is not optimal.
I don't know that it's right for closed session.
I think they were getting in that direction now.
If you're negotiating a expenditure of public funds, then there is a carve-out that would damage your negotiating position, you can go into closed session. But unless it damages your negotiating position and there's public funds involved, I don't think there's an exemption.
And Mr. Fraser's point, we do have until the end of the month, according to Mr. Carr, to signal whether we would join a regional agreement, and we now have legal counsel, so I would say that it's worked out well, and we can engage our attorney as early as tomorrow morning, as I've said several times. So I think that said, we're well positioned to do a thorough due diligence review of the MOU and anything attached to it, and get sound legal advice on any wordsmithing, how to define county, et cetera. That might make it stronger for our county as one small part of this larger regional agreement. So I think the pieces are in place to do our job on behalf of the public, and to do it thoroughly and thoughtfully.
If I could, this discussion has been very beneficial, and I think we all agree that the citizens of our county should have as good a service as our surrounding counties. I would feel like I hadn't done my job correctly if I hadn't given the citizens of Rappahannock County the chance for fiber to the home. We've got a lot of unserved addresses. A lot of kids had to go to homes and houses and businesses all over the county to get their work done last year, and that was horrible. Given the fact that there's no way to know whether we're ever going to be able to create the same quality of service, the same percentage of Rappahannock that could get covered with the same amount of financial support from the government, it's really hard in my mind to forgo this potential opportunity. I do realize there's concern that we need to have legal counsel and that we should have legal counsel review it before anything is signed. When I look at the benefits of fiber to the home, future-proof, you're not gonna have to replace it like you do your computer every 5 years because applications get bigger. Families, we all say we want families in the home and moving into Rappahannock County. Mom and dad's working from home a lot these days. Kids are working on schoolwork, streaming shows, that takes a lot. Our schools, if they know we're focusing on fiber to the home, they can reach out and look for additional funding that they may be able to help us with. Fire and rescue, connecting the fiber backbones for cell, pager antenna, radio repeaters. Of course, you get more families in the county because of fiber to the homes, and maybe you've got more volunteers, who knows? But telehealth, agriculture, business, especially home-based businesses, no towers, a balance protecting Rappahannock County's landscape, vistas, scenic view sheds, and historic heritage. Yep, that's from the comp plan. I just can't imagine why we would want to try anything but fiber to the home if this opportunity is as in our face as it is this year with all the funds from the federal and state grant dollars. So if we need to get the MOU reviewed, fine. But I think we need to offer fiber to the home as much as possible to as many of our citizens as possible.
Well said.
So what are you proposing, Chairman?
I do understand that we want to have legal counsel review this. We have that. Mr. Woodson is going to take care of that tomorrow. I don't know if there is a way to basically say after review by legal counsel that the Rappahannock County Broadband Authority authorizes the chair to execute the regional memorandum of understanding. I don't know if that, you guys probably know better than I, if we can do it with basically a caveat based on legal counsel review.
I believe, Madam Chair, that's a step too far. We probably need to confer with legal counsel, not just have them read this.
I believe that's correct. I mean, I have a lot of concerns. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but if this party isn't gonna cover the area that the RDOF is serving, we have to have an opportunity to also provide fiber to the home to that additional area. And if there's some non-compete language where we can't do that, we're gonna have an issue.
Mr. Carr, when you said the end of the month, what's our hard deadline to signal our intent to enter into the regional agreement? This is Kier Whitson, sorry, to tell you who I am.
Next Friday.
Next Friday, okay. Can we continue our continued meeting? To a date and time certain?
Anytime.
Okay. So-
Gary will be on vacation.
Let's-
Good luck.
Okay, so, I will go ahead and move that we task our now agreed upon, legal counsel to review the draft regional memorandum of understanding, and provide, legal opinion regarding the exclusivity clause and also the definition of the term county, and to provide, otherwise a full due diligence review of the MOU from the perspective of Rappahannock County as one partner. In addition, to provide us a legal opinion regarding the need for a procurement officer in this process. And,
So I think
I
we need
think
to
that's
set
it,
up
I mean,
a
that's,
conference with the attorney. Not just a list of questions that we have you give her or the chair. We need to have a
Okay.
sit down with her.
Yeah, I think we all need to speak to the attorney, and
Okay.
I think we all need to have the opportunity to
Well,
speak to
the
the
thing
attorney.
is, I think we all need to be at the same level of understanding of what we're doing, and
Okay.
what's about to transpire.
let me put it this way, I think we ought to at least provide our attorney with the questions we need answered, so that she can prepare responses that we can discuss with her. I agree with you, that's a good idea, but it doesn't make sense to bring an attorney in if they don't know what they are advising us.
No, I see where you're at, I agree with that.
But no, I appreciate the further thought of having a conference. So can we pick a date and time certain, maybe on, Tuesday?
For the attorney?
Yeah, to continue this meeting, and then we'll bring our legal counsel in, and I'll give her tomorrow, the weekend, and Monday, to wrestle with these questions.
If you guys don't think it's a problem, if we have until the 30th to let Mr. Carr know, I am back in town late on the 28th. I'd much rather meet in person if I could.
What is that?
So I would say the 29th,
Okay.
all day,
When-
anytime on the
when is it?
29th for me.
29th.
Oh, the 29th.
The 29th is Thursday, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, the attorney we can do through Zoom, I think, but to have this final discussion, I think I'd like to be in person.
Okay.
Probably work a lot better if the attorney was present with you. Less when you all just gonna figure out how to make Zoom.
One, yeah, so my motion is along the lines of providing the scope of work for our attorney, and then I could add to my motion that we then convene in person with our attorney on Thursday, July 29th to review her analysis and for her to answer our questions regarding the MOU, which is her primary focus in the near term.
I guess I'll second your motion for the purposes of discussion, but what if our attorney is not available?
Well, she has a team, okay, I mean, we can call a special meeting once I confirm that tomorrow morning.
I mean, I think it would be cleaner if we just call a special meeting when we know when, where, and who is available.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so my motion though is to instruct our attorney about the questions I've just described, or would you be willing to second that?
Can I hear the list again?
Yeah.
I've heard several, and I'm trying to remember.
Okay, so this is just a general due diligence review and memorandum of understanding in draft form. Consideration of the exclusive partner clause in that agreement and the extent to which that precludes us or doesn't preclude us from pursuing other options vis-a-vis potentially the RDOF area in the southwest part of the county. Reviewing the question of procurement officer and whether we need one in this context and how we would execute that. And other details, including how to define the term county should we enter into this agreement and who within Rappahannock County constitutes county. I think, and that's all really folded into just the due diligence review of the MOU, but I think fleshing out those details at least answer some of the specific questions that have come up tonight.
And then the exclusivity language is in particular to the good faith clause, which I think is item number 9.
Yeah, you might have misdescribed it, but
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
I'll second for purposes of discussion. How does everybody feel about the attorney doing that particular scope of work?
If we hired the attorney, which I think we voted on, I'm fine.
So as I understand it, the attorney, Peter's gonna call the attorney in the morning and give her the information to look at. And then once we decide we can all meet on Thursday, if she's available, then we're gonna go ahead and do it on Thursday. And then, of course, we have to sign this thing by Friday so that we don't miss out on all these grants, correct?
Well, the regional approach,
Right, which is a lot more money than the other way.
hopefully.
Friday deadline is in September.
Right.
The deadline that we've been given by Mr. Carr is the end of the month.
Right, for the regional approach.
Yep.
Okay. Fine, with me.
Did you have anything to add, Ms. Donahue?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Who seconded that?
I seconded it. Thank you, Gary.
Mr. Carr, thanks a lot for the great overview and addressing our questions on the spot.
All right, I think that has taken us now through the first 5 items.
Yep.
Should we take a 5-minute break? Does anybody need a break, or should we just hold on?
I've been breaking throughout.
Mr. Frazier, you all right?
Yes.
All right, item number 6 is the amendment to the chapter 170 zoning ordinance regarding short towers for broadband and public safety. Mr. Ferg, is this one this
this is not on our next Board of Supervisors meeting agenda, correct?
Yeah, it will be, because the Board of Supervisors voted to table it. There was some discussion of table to when. Ultimately, that resulted in August 2nd with a concurrent referral to the Broadband Authority for the Broadband Authority to review and make a recommendation back to the Board of Supervisors, having had the newfound wisdom of what was in the proposals for the RFI, which weren't apparent at that time. So, based on everything the authority knows now, perhaps you want to make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on how they should handle the draft ordinance, whether perhaps you think they should adopt it as written, any minor wording changes that would be within the limits that would be acceptable with the advertising of the public hearing should be made, or that it should not be adopted at all. But I think the Board of Supervisors wants to hear your recommendation now that you are better informed about the proposals.
And, but the joint meeting of the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission is not on the agenda.
No, that's done, the
Okay.
joint public hearing's done, the only thing left to happen is for the Board of Supervisors to take action
Okay,
on the proposal to amend the ordinance, which, that action can follow really at any time, and can be that, up or down vote on the resolution, really just an upvote on the resolution, or you ignore it forever and it never happens.
all right, well, I would just say, I don't know how the other members of the authority feel about it, but we took this on with a lot of urgency, having heard from Mr. Pate initially, but it sounds like it's gonna take him a little time to figure out exactly, or not from Mr. Pate, but from Piedmont Broadband, and it sounds like it's gonna take him a little time, having heard from him the other day, to, really put in any of these requests. So, I'd suggest we put in quite a meeting today, and maybe we should think on it a little longer.
Okay.
How's everybody else feel?
I don't see the urgency.
Mr. Frazier?
Well, some members of the planning commission have complained that the Board of Supervisors doesn't always do what they recommend, and they may not listen to us either.
Mr. Pate did say while he was standing at the microphone, I think someone inadvertently stated that the ordinance was passed, and I think he said, well, we'll be applying for 3 towers tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then the record was corrected that it did in fact get adopted.
Right, I didn't realize it was that urgent.
Well, I don't know how urgent.
I mean, he made that
He
statement.
did make that statement.
Yeah. I mean, we worked it over at the planning commission, then I don't know how much the Board of Supervisors and the planning commission worked it over together, but I think it's been talked about, refined, twisted and turned, and, I mean, the good news is, they don't need the towers, we're not gonna see towers. The good news is, if they need the towers, you would have an ordinance on the books, so, I mean, it seems that Piedmont Broadband will continue to have some presence in the county no matter where we go long term, so we might as well, I mean, my view is just get it done.
Well, I would recommend, I would support the notion that we recommend adoption by the Board of Supervisors of the proposed amendment of the need for a tower.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
They may not listen to me.
I would just say, I do wonder if it couldn't benefit from a little bit more specific language, maybe regarding some of the lot sizes and things like that, that it might apply to. I have heard concerns from folks that we might in fact have an abundance of these things that we really don't want.
I think the board should work that out, they can re-advertise that the amendments that they may want to make would require, they can just re-advertise it.
All right. All right, anything Ms. Donahue to add?
Just if Chantel had decided to stick with the towers, I'd much rather they were the 80-foot towers and not the taller ones.
When you did see in their proposal today that Mr. Meehan referenced several times, small cell.
Yes.
These
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it would make it easier on them.
All right.
Heard any,
What, I'm sorry, sir?
we heard you.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
All right, I believe we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And so, oh, sorry,
That's all right. It takes us to open board discussion item.
we'll discuss that.
Anyone else?
And we are adjourned, we would adjourn and then call a special meeting, is that the approach we agreed upon?
I believe so, because I'm challenged to name a date, time, and place certain at this
Okay.
point.
I would,
If that's everything,
And
then,
just so I can sneak this in on the record, if there's any way you
Yeah.
can identify the date tomorrow, it will be much easier for staff to accommodate what you need, because the two people who generally send these notices out will not.
yeah, I would assume it's,
So why don't we just go ahead and go with the 29th? Because,
You don't know if council's available.
yeah, well, she'll probably,
I think she'll be
she'll
available.
probably be available.
I mean, we do things by a vote around here, so if y'all wanna do it.
Well, I think that would be the simplest thing, you know, that Ms. Donahue will be here, and that gives her plenty of time to make herself available, or send somebody, that works for this firm. And then we can, if she's not available, and she's got another time, then we can call a special meeting.
Well, we're out of time at that point, because
Well,
we're
we
trying
have
to,
to move it forward, if she's available, 28th, and Ms. Donahue.
Or make it during the day, right?
Right.
so you just want to
Make it
continue
during
this
the
Well,
week?
you can possibly lock down time with the council tomorrow, and
Yeah,
then
tomorrow
we
morning.
can take care of the special notice tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine, let's
Okay.
just,
You
let's
get
just
that
sign it.
done. If it
I'll do
doesn't
it.
happen until Monday, just
I'll
needs
do
more
it.
complicated.
No, I'll do it tomorrow morning.
So then we would adjourn and do a special meeting tomorrow
Yeah.
morning, okay.
Correct.
That works.
All right,
I move we adjourn the broadband authority meeting.
I think second is that motion, thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.